To order the meeting for the City of Beaumont Economic Development Council Committee meeting. Committee members, if you'll call if you're present. Julio Martinez.
Here.
Mike Lara. Todd Parton.
Here.
Kala Warsinski.
Here.
Bernie Balland.
Here.
Bertha Barraza.
Here.
Terrence Davis is not here. Randy Harris.
Here.
I, Jennifer Higgins, are here. Am here. Not good for college day. Mike McGraw is not here. Rob Moran is not here. We welcome our new member, Kimberly Stars. Here. And it looks like Dylan O'Dill did not make it today.
And Dylan's very polite because I have misspelled his name 2 times in a row, and I found out that it's Dylan, so I wasn't even close.
Is that why he's not showing up? Because he misspelled his name?
We're asking the wrong Dylan to attend, so I will make that change for the next meeting.
All right, well, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, seeing nobody here for public comment, we'll skip that. Let's go ahead and move down to 2 action items, public hearings request. Can we get a motion for the approval of minutes?
Sick.
Okay. Got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All opposed? All right, we'll move on to item B.
Motioned.
Bertha.
Bertha.
Okay, and then who did the second?
And sorry, Bernie Salad. Bernie.
Bernie. Thank you. Otherwise, I have to listen to the whole thing again. I hate listening to myself speak on
And I know Terrence is
audio.
so good about that. I apologize today. I should have been taking better notes of how he runs things. B is update of projects from city staff.
Okay. Thank you, committee chair and members of the committee. So, don't have too many significant updates on projects. Obviously, you're probably aware that we had our groundbreaking ceremony for the Perchero interchange. So that went off. It was very well attended, and we're very excited about moving forward on that interchange project. We've also had a series, or at least one workshop on our sewer rate study, and I think another one is going to be coming up in the near future within the next week or so. And so we'd like everyone that has interest in that sewer rate study to attend and ask any questions that they may or their neighbors may have at that, to kind of vet the interest and dispel rumors and all that fun stuff at a workshop setting. And that way we'll start the Prop 218 process on formally establishing the rates thereafter. And that, if you're not familiar, is to build the expansion of our wastewater treatment plant, as well as the desalter facility and a brine line to dispose of the byproduct from when you remove salt from sewage. I'm going to end with the details of the process there. The other major projects we've been working on are obviously Xenia and Oak Valley. So those were repaved, they've been restriped, so we're happy about that. We're progressing on design of other major projects infrastructure-wise, which is 8th Street repaving. We are in design on widening of Pennsylvania, as well as the interchange at Pennsylvania. And I think we're looking at finishing up the RFP process for the actual grade separation on Pennsylvania to coincide with all of those. The other thing I've been working on is the RFP for the design of the West Side Fire Station. So that's near ready to take to City Council. We envision that contract for award to go on February 20th of this month, if all goes smoothly. So we finished our extensive RFP process on that. We'll dwindled it down from, I think, 15 firms to 2, and we've selected one that we're going to move forward and recommend to council to award the contract for the design of that on. What else? Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about that, and I got on to sewage. So we're bringing me back
It always ends up somewhere.
to fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always end up sewage. So the general plan update. We had our workshop at last night's meeting. If you're interested, you can pull the audio and video of that on YouTube from the general plan workshop if you missed out. So it has the presentation, interested parties of the public that chimed in, provided critical feedback to the city council as well as staff on what they would like to see and what they would not like to see. And then council took action to move forward on the environmental process for the preferred land use alternatives, and that's a long-winded verbiage for what parts of the city are going to be designated and zoned to build what types of things at what density and what they're going to look like. So 2-story commercial, 3-story, what types of land use sizes are allowable for residential projects and all that fun stuff. So if you're interested in that, you can always give Rebecca a call. So that's her project, and we should be nearing the finish line on that entire project within the next year. But now we're going to be starting on environmental and the economic analysis and all that fun stuff. So I think this committee is anxious on seeing the results of that, because we know that some of our economic strategic plan goals and working on that will dovetail with the finish of the general plan. And you want to do it? My throat is killing me. So, luckily enough, my boss is here and is reminding of another fun thing that we were working on, which is we just received our proposals for our lobbyist service RFP. So, if you're not familiar, most cities have lobbyists. Ours chose to eliminate those services due to budget constraints a couple years ago, and now that we're a little bit better budget-wise and we've solved some of our long-term debt issues, we're in the process of soliciting a competitive process for lobbyist services at the state of California level and as well as the federal level in DC. So we'll be reviewing those in the next week or so, 2 weeks. And then once we create a short list, we'll be interviewing, hopefully bringing a contract for either of those services or both to either the March meeting or an April city council meeting to get lobbyist consultants back on board as part of our team. So we as staff are excited about that.
Is that full-time?
They are typically on retainer, so they will work as hard or as not hard as each client city requests. So they are active in, we could use like Sacramento, for example. They're very active with what's going on with the legislature and what laws are being passed or introduced, and they report back to the city on a monthly basis, as well as they are our arms and feet up in Sacramento when we can't fly there. So if we have a pet project or a bill, or if we need assistance with one of the departments in Sacramento, so Department of Finance or State Controller or any of those things, they will simply walk over there and act as an extension of staff's arm within Sacramento. And then if need be, schedule meetings for staff to then fly up there and then meet with key personnel. So that's really what they'll do for us, as well as introduce legislation that will help the city or our neighboring cities if we work together on things. And they also let us know what bills are being introduced or enacted that will be a detriment to the community.
That's a good system.
So, like I said, they work as hard or as little as we make them. And in the past, when I was involved with it, we produced a lot of end results with them up there in Sacramento or in DC, because if we're paying for it, we might as well squeeze them as much as we can to get things that we're interested in. Lastly, maybe.
It's just the critical things y'all are probably interested in.
Was our strategic communications plan that was presented last night and council authorized to move forward with with that, actually, they approved the strategic communications plan, authorized staff to go out and solicit bids for implementing pieces of that communications plan. So it's a pretty big plan. It's important for us as city staff. And the nitty-gritty of that type of plan is that we're a very large city now. We're not 10,000 residents anymore, so we're closer to 50. And we have 170-something employees. And we want to have a common theme and a common message across all city departments and city staff members and the council. So that way you won't talk to one department that says one thing and then it's contradicted 10 minutes later by another one.
Right.
So we're going to have a synchronized strategic plan, common branding or messaging throughout that plan, and we'll be rebranding. Obviously, you see our new logo on a lot of different things throughout the city. So we're in the process of changing out some of the old city logos and putting in the new one to represent a change in where the city's headed and hopefully where we're going to be going in the next 15, 20, 30 years. And there's a lot more to the strategic plan that I've left out, not on purpose, but on lack of information off the top of my head. So if you would like any information on that, you can find it on our website, or you can email myself or the public information officer, which is Ashley Starr, and she can fill you in on all that fun stuff or get you copies if you want to review it.
And that plan will have some elements specifically to economic development messaging. And so I anticipate this committee will be part of the branding effort. So the plan would be to try to start the branding process probably in July. So the FRP and have something to come in. So
Okay.
that'll be part of that effort.
For part of the branding, I know at one point we had talked about a slogan. Is that also part of?
Be a
Okay.
tagline.
Yeah.
That's what- yeah.
Okay. And then I had one quick question. You had said Pennsylvania, the widening of Pennsylvania, is it both on the north and the south side of the freeway, or is it more south side?
From 1st to 6th,
Okay,
so both.
gotcha.
What about the off-ramp that we were speaking of, moving east?
Mm-hmm.
You're moving forward on that also?
We're looking for, I think we're progressing on design of those two missing ramps and then how those are going to interface. So I think one's a hook ramp and then one's a simple off. But we're in design on that, and then there'll be significant work between ourselves and Caltrans on getting that design approved.
Yeah, that would be really good too. Very good.
Kyle, had a couple of residents ask me about across from Rite Aid. You know, they're not starting any project there, are they? They have a lot of tractors and stuff that are there, and I thought maybe it's probably for the poles and stuff for the freeway, but everybody's got.
Yeah, everybody's got
There's
it.
been quite a
I
lot.
know there's nothing
Yeah, there's
planned.
nothing.
Yeah, I've received a ton of phone calls on that. The first thing I always ask them is, what do they think it's going to be? Because I love the rumor mill.
Yeah,
Man, I have heard everything on the planet.
Lowell's, Target, just, I mean, just all kind of.
And then if you want to joke with them, you tell them it's going to be a jail, and then
There you go.
I don't really do that. One of them actually told me they thought it was going to be a jail. And where did you hear that? They said some construction worker on the side of the road. I'm like, oh. So obviously that person thought it was funny. I didn't think it was that funny. So the work that has been out there in the last 2 weeks or so is simply Edison moving a vault. We had interested parties call and ask what's going on. We even had a State Department, I'm not going to name them by name, call and was irate because they thought something was going on and they weren't notified. So I blamed Edison because that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were just simply moving a vault within the right-of-way, and they had equipment mobilized on the property. Good news is the property owners are soliciting proposals for companies that want to locate on there. Just nothing's been formalized at this point in time. So you can't, when they say, oh, it's going to be a Costco or something like that, you can tell them, well, maybe, but nothing's certain, because I can't say yes to anything because I know nothing's for sure.
Yeah.
I think now that's a used tractor lot.
There you go.
And then the
We need them?
the council, we had something to do with the Panera for the, not Panera, for Sonic. We did the Loma Linda property. We had to
Yes.
do that. How's that going?
So that was one of the boxes being checked off in terms of getting a free clear title from Sonic Burger to proceed with the subdivision of the property and all that fun stuff. I believe we are in the final stages of the grading plan. I think we got held up for 3 weeks due to a tribal cultural resource approval. So they got a verbal from the tribe saying everything's okay if we do certain things, but their council meeting was 3 weeks later. So us being the great bureaucrats we are, we cannot issue a grading permit without the actual approval from that tribal board stating that everything's okay with us. So it's an unfortunate delay, but something that we really don't have wiggle room around, because that would be curtailing the California law. So we envision, and as you know, I'm very skeptical about talking about certain things, but I envision this to break ground in 2018, hopefully finish some of those businesses within the same year. So we're getting much closer than we were 6 months or so ago.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Kyle? Any more topics for Kyle to talk about?
No, ma'am. Well, there was a couple, but I'll stop.
All right, item 2C is our discussion of economic development committee goals. I'm going to go ahead and read what our committee goals currently are in our vision statement. The Beaumont Economic Development Committee shall work to create a balanced, sustainable, and diverse business base that leverages existing local business while filling in gaps by creating a plan to recruit and market to doing business that will benefit Beaumont's growth, quality of life, and values that Beaumont City Council sets forth. Our goals are to develop an economically balanced community, to recruit new businesses, retaining and expanding local businesses that promote growth of primary jobs and our sales tax revenue, to create a quality of place that establishes Beaumont as a community to establish or grow a business, and to leverage the city's strengths to maximize business opportunities. Our item II is discussion of committee member tasks. We talked about the attraction and retention program. Did you get all of the questions in that we discussed last meeting?
I put that as a separate item on the
Okay.
agenda, which is item D.
Okay.
So sub I is simply just talking about developing an attraction or retention program. I think the committee took that retention thing one step further and asked to kind of formulate a series of questions or survey questions and discussion items. So I created a separate line item for that, but ongoing, we've been talking about partnering with the chamber or other groups like the county to provide resources to businesses, whether it be small or large. So I think that staff's going to be working on a program like that and be trying to contact our local representatives at the chamber and the county to see what we can leverage in terms of assistance on that.
And we also have under there Intro to New Businesses program and the summer internship program.
Exactly.
And
So
those are all
those
tied
are kind
together.
of the same thing. They're in the works, so it's things that we've discussed, but we haven't formalized and put them on the agenda. So if anyone wants to chime in on any of those, please do so. Obviously, we wanted to create an intro to a new business program or showcasing a new business that comes in. I think it's a good time to mention that with our strategic communications plan, that will probably set some framework on how we're going to go about doing that. And that way we have a constant branding or constant message that goes out as it pertains to each of these new businesses, and we roll those out incrementally when new ones open. And then the summer internship program, I'll have to confess I have not done much work on that one either. So Bertha, if you want to have your colleagues just call me,
Okay.
please do so. That'll probably help remind me more
Sure.
than me sifting through emails, because I know it's on my list of things to do, but
I know, and I sent you an email too. but
exactly. So just,
It's okay. We'll continue to work on that. I know he's out this week,
okay.
So next week.
Perfect. Yeah, and then hopefully we could set up a meeting in which they come out and, or all go out there.
No, you can, we can meet in Banning.
Okay.
This campus here.
Do we have to go to Banning?
Sorry.
Am I okay to go to Banning?
You have to stay on Highland Springs on your side.
Don't cross.
On your side.
These guys are gonna be happy if I go to Banning. All right, maybe. I just won't
So
tell
we'll
them.
come to the city.
There we go.
Okay. We'll come to the city.
Does the map go to Muhammad?
What?
Does the map go to Muhammad? You're Muhammad, aren't you? This is not-
Oh, I would hope so. We were the ones that need the interns. So is it the
That is
opposite?
true.
Is it the opposite way?
Oh, yeah. I guess you're,
So I have a question. Have you ever been to the college?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So you don't have to explain where it's at.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, Kyle, I got a question. When, the intro to new business programs, when is that supposed to be implemented?
Whenever you want to implement it. So we have not formalized a program like that. It's just been something that we've talked about at the committee level. And then like Todd and I or Ashley and I have mulled over kind of how to implement it. The way it was working years ago is the chamber was doing those things.
Yeah.
So the chamber would have your grand opening events. They would have mixers at new businesses, which kind of showcased what was going on in that business, whether it was service or retail or something like that. And since the chamber's kind of retracted some of those programs, we've talked about it here at the staff level. Is this something that we want to implement? Do we want to go out there and do it? Obviously, you saw with the Wolverine grand opening, that was something that we took ownership of and kind of set everything up and put all the pieces in place. So that may be one of the significant events that moves this forward. Or we wait to partner with the chamber if that's something the chamber wants to ramp up again. Obviously, we would help facilitation of that project.
Yeah, because we really didn't stop doing the ribbon cuttings or anything like that. It slowed down because the volume slowed down. So, and what about, is there a bullet point for that program that we could maybe email blast out to, help out?
We haven't done like a formal kickoff yet. So as you know, the committee doesn't really have the authority to just start doing things without council approval.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to, just like we're going to talk about on the next item, if we want to put it on the agenda and create some formal process that we would want the city to be involved in, then staff would take that to the city council and ask them for guidance in the approval to be actually working on something like that.
I think that would be good to put on, especially since that's the kind of stuff that we don't see on this committee. That's on the city side that we would not be aware of exactly what the steps are. So if we can flesh that out so that we're aware, so that we can also be mouthpieces to get back to the community about what people need to do, I think that would be a great topic for another meeting.
Sure. So we can put it on maybe the next one, or depending on how the next item goes, a following meeting. But I'll put it in the queue for a future item for discussion.
Okay.
And then that way we can present something to city council and they can direct staff to actually get to work on something, or if they think it's not that beneficial now, or they have a way to change that or mold it the way they want to see, then they have the authority to do so.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is item D, local business survey questions and discussion.
So who brought all their questions?
I sent them to you that day.
Did you?
Yes.
All right, cool. Did you bring a copy?
I'm sure I can I'm sure I can pull it up. Anybody else?
Well, we can discuss, I'm sure.
That's right.
So I think my biggest question would be, what are the obstacles that local businesses face in future growth and expansion efforts? I think that's kind of a question that's on everybody's mind all the time when you're thinking about growth, and how could the city be helpful in eliminating some of those obstacles? I think that could also help uncover maybe some underlying issues that have more to do with either homelessness or, infrastructure that maybe this committee won't deal with, but it might be a good tool to use to uncover some things that we wouldn't normally consider.
So, and I'm going to do this with all of the questions. So it's a very good question. The one thing I would ask the committee is, do we want to leave the question open-ended or close-ended. So you mentioned homelessness or infrastructure. Do we want to, when we put together the questions, and we go out and we as a committee or with our partners and we survey some of the small businesses within the city, do we want most of our questions to be open-ended, in which they provide us a litany of answers, which we have on paper, but it's very hard to compare with the survey results? Or do we want to provide 10 different check marks, 2 of which Kimberly just provided, as options that we can simply check when they say those things, and then those are easily populated into a survey result? So we can say, look, 70% of the businesses we met with in the last 6 months said one of the obstacles for growth within my local business is the infrastructure in front of my business.
If you're looking for empirical data, it probably should be, categories or a list. Just a suggestion.
It doesn't really matter. There's pros and cons to either,
Yeah,
but
it depends on the question.
I think it has to be a combination, qualitative and
Yes.
quantitative data,
Right.
first off.
It depends.
Second of all, if we have a previous data, what do we already know? And so what we know, maybe they already responded to some of these questions in the past. Maybe we want to bring it forward and see, are these some of these issues still going on? And then that's when we can put what is that, close-ended questions. Because
Sure.
we already have data. But if there's something that we don't know and we're trying to find out, then you leave open-ended questions because we want to know.
yeah. The last survey that was performed was done in 2009, 2010, and that was a survey that I was involved in with the other 3 cities. And so what happened is the local economic development organization within the Pass area created the survey, and then each chamber of commerce was tasked to go out and solicit their membership or their businesses within each of those cities. So it was a pass-wide survey, not devoted just to the city of Beaumont. So I have those results. I don't have the actual questions that were asked, but I just have results, which probably doesn't help us too much. But to answer where I was going with that is, a lot of the data that we have is stale, and
Yeah, that's long ago.
so we probably wouldn't want to rely on that data set as something to move forward with. We probably want to start from fresh in 2018.
I think this is more of an entree. I think this is getting out there, starting a conversation.
Right.
Making some connections. So I'd do I would probably no more than 5 or 6 open-ended questions, and then send out a more probably specific closed-ended survey, maybe once we get a chance to kind of see what the common core issues may be. So I think this is really kind of issue identification. And it's also an outreach effort to let them know, hey, there's actually an organization with the city that's there, maybe that can help provide linkage.
So remind me, since I'm not remembering too well here, what was our vision? I thought our vision was to have individuals go out, talk to the businesses, ask them
Yes.
these questions and get that. Is that still our vision?
Yeah.
We're not looking at a blanket survey going at just everyone.
I think it was starting a conversation first so we can get like a general idea of what is
One-on-one.
good and what needs to be worked on.
One-on-one.
Yeah, a one-on-one.
Correct. Yeah, the blanket survey was something that was done in the past, and it wasn't that successful.
Right.
And I tell you, after the end of it, not many people were that interested in the results. I think what we've talked about is much more personable, and you have a person from the city's economic development committee or city staff meeting with that business, which has never happened before.
Right.
So that's going to be a bonus no matter what. And we'll be asking a series of questions that then can be directed back to the city, presented within this committee meeting, or delivered to Todd and I if something's like of dire need. If they say, look, I'm out of business in the next month or so, well, please don't wait to the economic development committee that's 6 weeks away
Right.
and let us know that they went out. So that's the kind of stuff that I would hope to occur from this program.
So what if we do 2 things? What if we contact those businesses that have recently got tenant improvements, or to see what pitfalls or what things could the city do to improve the process, to make it easier for them? And then the other side is you go to those businesses that have been in operation to find out what struggles are they having that the city could potentially help them with.
Right.
Well, I know one of the issues, it's signage. I've heard a couple
Yeah,
of business
I've heard that
owners
too.
complaining about signage, oh, you gotta take it up, put it down, just, so that's one issue that we know of for sure.
Right.
About ordinance restrictions?
Yeah. That's for sure.
So forgive me because I obviously wasn't here. Is the plan to have a committee member paired with a staff member and go together, or is this like a singular person going out there with their clipboard?
You can be a singular person.
There's only
You're elected.
there's only me as
No.
there's only me as the staff member, and I would
Okay.
hope that there'd be more than one of you
You'd
out
already
at one
are
time,
ready?
or else we'd have to cut me in pieces
Right.
and then take a portion of me, which is highly ineffective.
Okay.
So I think the idea was to have the committee members go as an acting arm of the city,
Right.
as a representative from the Economic Development Committee, and saying that the council has authorized me to come and I'd like to speak to you about your business and how long you've been here and how many employees you have. I mean, those are my simple questions.
I think I had, how long ago did you start your company? When did you start working with your company in Beaumont? How many employees do you have? Do you lease or own your property? Do you prefer one or the other? Why? What do you feel are the strengths that Beaumont offers? How well did our local city help with any permits, necessary starts for your business? Did you perceive any shortcomings that needed to be addressed? How do you feel about the city of Beaumont and our citizens? What do you wish you knew when you started your business that you think you would help new businesses in our area? How long do you anticipate staying in our area? And what are your thoughts for expansion? Or the ones that,
I had one that said, how many of your employees currently live
Live in there.
in the city?
yeah, that's good.
I think what attracted you to the city is also important. Cost, we also need to talk about costs.
Like, do you think costs were in line with
Well,
other locations that you're in,
For
or?
utility costs, for example, rent, is that too high for you? Is that about right? Or I think that's also very important.
They're important, but I don't know if we want to get into that at like the preliminary stage. I think that when we identify whether they're having issues or not, that's something that I wouldn't have a problem speaking to them with at City Hall. But I don't know if, I mean, I'm
be
trying
stirring
to
a
speak
thing
for you, but I don't know if all of you want to get into that level of discussion with a business owner or a business manager or not out in the field. Because I think some of those can be not so positive engagements. And a lot of the utilities or those types of things are outside any of your control, and in fact, outside of even Todd's control. So
Even Todd,
he's in charge of a lot of stuff.
right?
Hell,
Control of nothing. So, but the only thing that I would, the thought about adding in that would be, do they feel like there's a network within the community that supports them? You know, so we think about the community, and is there a business support network here for, whether it's, and they could lead us down the track of, I need help finding employees, I need help, you know, with trades, I need help, you know, doing some things, or, you know, we've got a great chamber, you know, but we're missing these other elements to it. So it's one of the things, I think from a business development perspective, and we've talked about this in this committee, about how do we support small business? You know, how do we help them to put themselves in a position or create a platform, you know, to grow and be successful.
Yeah, because remember, we had talked about those resources that we have and with the county also. And the questions really probably should make sure that they're, you know, tied in there. So if they're having concerns, we can relate it to things we can find or how to connect that. Because I think that's important to be able to start that process of, you know, starting to do things for them. Also, maybe ask them if, have they had any thoughts of leaving? I mean, you know, if everything gone well, or if there's any thoughts that you know.
Maybe, do you
wanna
see
put it in
yourself
their head,
conducting
though.
business in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, probably
Yeah.
worded not quite like that.
Yeah. Are you out?
I got out of here.
I heard her neighbor's out. Are you out?
Yeah, because retention is one of our, one of
Right.
the things is to make sure that we hold on to. So
Yeah.
we want to get them before they move.
So I had a couple questions. One was, it's not the fun question to ask, but how would you rate the risk of downsizing your business or closing within the next 1 to 3 years? And it has a low, moderate, or high. So if it was high, then that's one that I think I would appreciate. If you got that type of response on your survey or your meeting, you'd let us know. So that way we have more direct interaction with them as soon as possible. If it's low, then obviously they're happy with where they're at, or they're not at some sort of risk that we need to step in and assist if possible.
I think that's a fantastic question because it does make it. We can get the answers without drilling down and saying.
You know
how
that if you
horrible
check
are things.
the high box, it's like, okay, now I gotta get Kyle this information
Right.
as soon as I'm done, because now someone needs to go find out why that is.
Right.
And you can try to vet the concerns or why it is, or you might want to just call me, and then we'll both go back or something like that. We'll have a meeting at City Hall in which we engage at that level and figure out exactly what's going on, and if it's something that we can step in and assist on, so be it. And if it's something that's just outside of our hands, then then we know that we've tried more than we had any time in the past.
And I think that says a lot, so if we do get that back to Kyle, and Kyle reaches out, at least they know that the city is aware, and it may help change something. You never know.
You don't want them
How
to
long of a time
reply?
frame?
You don't want them to say anything if it's high? If it's high,
Well, if you
why?
get that, that's perfectly fine.
But maybe like a little box at the bottom. If it's high, explain why. Or share.
I don't know if we want to poke
No?
the bear.
Yeah, because it may be things that are completely personal and have nothing to do with the
Right.
business climate, and that's what we'll determine at a later time. But the reason I'm hesitant to ask those is because I want the most positive engagement from the Economic Development Committee members as you can going in there.
Right.
So know that not every single business you're going to walk into is going to be a positive engagement.
Right.
Some may just be angry because some homeless guy slept there for 2 days in a row. And it had nothing to do with you, but as an arm of the city, they may not be happy. And we want to know about that, and I would hate to put any of you in that position. I'm used to it, but kind of figure out what's going on and then report back or call me and we'll go out together and deal with it if you want to continue to be engaged on that one. And we can work through it together versus trying to get all of the information out of them the very first time they've seen you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So are we gonna break them up? People we know that are business owners, or just, you take these 5, you take those 5, good luck?
I haven't really figured out how to actually break it up. I think that we could just go out and start canvassing the older portions of town or things like that. And if they've already met with someone from the committee, I don't think they'll have a problem letting you know that they just talked to Bernie
Right.
the other day. So they appreciate you showing up. Worst case is no one talks to them. Best
Right.
case is 3 people came in within 2 weeks and they've done it one time already.
Right.
That's a good sign, is that we know they've already been talked to.
That's a good point.
Can
Kyle.
you put together a list of the businesses through the HDL software?
We could definitely put a list.
That way we can maybe start striking them off so that we don't leave anybody out of
Yeah.
our target
And
area.
is there also any way to say if they are a long-term business or if they are more recent, so that we can actually get a smattering of that data?
You should be able to have the.
Could do that. It takes a little bit.
Registered, right?
It takes a little bit longer for me to pull that, unless there's a simple button I click on which talks about how many years they've renewed. But some places change the name.
True.
So
True.
you run, or like a new owner will change the name. So then it's the same business that's been here for 20 years, but it's changed names 4 times. So the last time it changed is only 3 years old. So I can definitely look into it in terms of a list and what information I can get. List of businesses.
I mean, we don't want to give you 400 things to do before we can go out and do it, but
One
I
thing
think
I
it'd
was
be
thinking
smart.
of, and I talked to some colleagues in other cities, is I would ask that you kind of leave the big guys to Todd and I. So you might not want to go out to Wolverine or someone like that. Kind of leave the big manufacturing businesses to us, because a lot of times they're going to have corporate representatives and they may not even be in California. That's the
Right.
person we really want to talk to. And we know them.
Right.
So a lot of times their type of assistance they're going to need is going to be me partnering with like Riverside County and Rob's department on workforce training. They need 20 new employees and they want to go through on the job training and they want the county to pay for 60% of it.
Right.
And that's something that at my level and at Rob's level will easily be able to disseminate information, at least at this early stage. Eventually, when you guys become fully certified door knockers and survey takers, I will have no problem with any of you going out to all of them and running amok out there with all kinds of information to pass out.
Now, I personally, I know that I'm not going to go to Walmart and talk to them. So
Yeah.
in my perception, it's always been more mom and pop.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, been around forever, or more recently started to figure out, what their experience has been. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm not going
So
over.
I just put it out there. I don't really have a problem if you want to try it. It's just they may be like, "Why are you here?" And
I like people, but that's okay. Yeah.
who have you talked to? And if you don't know the right name, you're not getting past the gate
Right.
or that type of thing. So
But if
Can
I
we
remember correct, I think we were concentrating on Old Town.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're concentrating on the Central Business District.
I think anything
The
on
small business.
Beaumont Avenue,
Sixth and
Sixth
Beaumont
Street.
Avenue. That's our
Probably what
our
we-
core.
Probably what we ought to do is get that list together, get it emailed out to everybody. If y'all pick maybe a couple businesses you'd like
Right.
to do. If there's some overlap, then we'll deal with that.
I think that's perfect. Yeah. Email the list and we email back. I'll take this, this, and this, and
Yeah. So,
report back.
So Kyle, is your goal, or what you're going to do is you're going to create a form that you'll email out, we can print off, and then take?
Yep.
Can we add a question? Will you consider getting an intern for your business?
oh, yeah.
An intern from like a college student?
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
I like that.
So an intern
And it shows the
from
support system within the community. Yeah, I
wish
like
Terrence
that.
was here, because then I'd volunteer. I don't know if the Beaumont Unified School District has an internship program that's been established for local businesses or not. I know yours does, so that's a good thing where if they say yes, then we simply provide that information to your colleagues, who I hope to meet with. And
I believe
In the next
he,
couple weeks?
yeah, exactly.
he had said that they do have something, but he had to reach out to specific people. 'Cause we had talked about that, not maybe last meeting, but the meeting before.
Yeah, so we can ask that. It's definitely a good question. Another one I had was, has your business ever engaged with the City of Beaumont Economic Development Department? So some of those would be, yes, I talked to Kyle 5 years or so ago, something like that. But some of them may be no, and then that opens the door to be like, okay, well, you know that the city hall has this department and that they're there to help your business or to interface with you on what things they could provide. Because if they're looking for an internship, then we would be able to facilitate that. Or if they're looking for on-the-job training, then I put them in contact with that. If they need a loan, then I tell them what SBA loan to go ask the bank for, those types of things. But if they don't even know that the city has that department,
Right.
then you'll know. Well, I've never even talked to them, and that opens your door to move down that road on the conversation, or not. And if you just put no, then when we get back the responses, then I can make that contact.
Are you also gonna make a bullet point list of, some of the benefits, support, growth initiatives that we can, tell our local businesses? Cause once we give them the survey, right, we sit down and talk with them, right? And they have all these questions, and we're gonna say, well, what can you do for us? Well, we need to have some type of bullet point or some type of list that we can go, well, in your business, we can help with this and this. With this type of business, we can help with that and that. So maybe that would be a good thing to do also.
Yeah, it's
It's almost like a follow-up appointment.
It would be easy if it was a linear question and answer thing. So the issue with a lot of incentives that the city has is it's not financial and it's not a simple answer. Well, what can you do? Well, we don't have money to just go out and provide, and we don't have interns to go out and provide. So a lot of what we do at City Hall at Todd's level and at my level is facilitate information. They may not know they can get on-the-job training, or they may not know what loan is best for their business. So that is something that isn't as easy as filling out a bullet point or telling them. It's sending them in and talking to city staff to figure out what they need, and if we can, provide them some assistance on how to get that.
And I think part of the purpose of the survey is to develop things that can help businesses like that.
Right.
Exactly. If we see that 80% of them need help with something, whether it's a sign or a facade, because we had a facade program for years where we would help, we had revenue assigned in our general fund to help pay for facade improvements, but one business out of all of the businesses in the city for 5 years took advantage of it. But that just told me that no one knew about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
And it wasn't free money, it was a matching fund. So if you spent 10 grand, we would match your 10 grand. If you spent 2, we would only match your 2. So you had to put some skin in the game as well.
So what about we have a stack of your business cards, and then we
I have one better.
give to.
Can we get your face on like a stick, and then on the back it has all your information and be like, this is Kyle, your friendly economic development.
Okay, Kyle, smile.
Not effective.
Think how cute that
That's
would
your
be.
opinion.
You would remember. You would
What
remember.
about, do you have a pamphlet for the department?
We do have a business resource center pamphlet.
Maybe
Okay, that would be
a good
perfect.
Source
that'd be
for,
Yeah.
I don't
For
think
us,
it's
And then
been.
I'll sponsor next month. I'll bring back his face on a stick, and we'll all have that
We'll
too.
prove it.
because then we can leave
Kyle
up
on
with
a stick.
something as
All
well.
right.
Or
Okay.
hangers with Kyle's face.
Yes.
He's the man.
I'll just
It'll say,
swap,
"Do
I'll
you
just swap
know
it for
this
Todd's
man?"
face.
We were here.
Got a million of them. It'll morph into the full size later.
There you go.
In your Twitter.
I don't even have one of those. I don't tweet. Tweet.
What other questions did you have on your?
I had. So I had the engaged. Has they ever engaged with the city? Have you ever, or are you planning to expand or add employees within the next 12 months? I think
What are your
yours
thoughts on
pretty much
expansion?
covered that.
Yeah.
How would you rate the business climate in Beaumont? So that one was one of those where I had options: excellent, good, average, poor, very poor.
Take off the
And then
finger.
a follow-up is what can be done to make that better. So you had one
Does it
kind of
really
like,
have to go to very poor?
doesn't,
Poor is pretty
very
poor.
poor.
Say great or excellent.
Yes. Yes.
You can say from
Great,
one,
excellent, or phenomenal.
well, you can say from 1 to 5.
Yeah. Well, 1 means very poor, we all know that now.
Since they- if they never engage-
You can say low to high.
If they tell you they've never engaged with the city, please let us know, because they're supposed to have a permit.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We're not your mandatory reporters.
Yeah, no, here's an application.
Yeah.
Or I'm erasing your name, all right?
That's when the interface becomes not so positive. So, what else did I have? Jen had a lot of the ones that I had. The last one's what can the chamber or the city, so Chamber of Commerce or the Beaumont Economic Development Team do to help you grow? And that's open-ended, so it says basically, tell us what you may need from us, whether it's a training seminar or something like that, and then, and I left it, that's the one I had, because hopefully we'll be able to grow the chamber into a support team for the city, and that we can be both working together on facilitating these, as opposed to just saying, what can the city do?
Right.
And then leaving the chamber on the sideline. We would want the chamber to be involved as this process goes forward, and hopefully be working with us to answer those questions and to provide those resources from now moving forward.
But I think if you hit somebody cold with that question, they're gonna say, I don't know. I have no idea. And I think.
Yeah.
you gotta
Think
kinda
about it and
say,
get back
hey,
to us.
What are the kinds of things that you feel like the community can do for you? Whether it's the city or the chamber or.
Yeah, I like that question, the community can do for you.
Yeah.
Because the citizens can also pitch in, volunteers,
Right.
committees, chambers, everybody.
Or shop, you know, I've
Yeah.
had places
I
where
like that.
businesses have left, when you talk to the owners, why did you leave? They said the community didn't support me. It's like, what do you mean, we expedite your permits, we did this? It's like, no, nobody shopped at my store.
Right.
You know, nobody came to my ribbon cutting. I held events and nobody showed up,
Right.
you know, and so,
Where I went for lunch today was closed. What?
Who was that?
It was that Tang's Chinese food place in Calamasa.
Oh,
That was
really?
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, not open.
Shut its doors completely, or just?
I was in Beaumont. I was at Subway, but I
He
heard
was talking to Tank about coming to
Tank.
Beaumont.
I heard Tang's was closed from
Yeah,
someone
it's
else
free
that
for
was going to
Beaumont.
eat there today.
Another question for you, Kyle. Is it possible, we used to have a lunch and learn at the chamber once in a while. Maybe we could throw something together like that as a group effort, a chamber, city, a community effort to help small businesses specifically, maybe once a month. Maybe we could do something like that.
Yeah, those are the. Go ahead. I know
I
you.
was gonna say, you can count on us for anything that won't cost money.
Hey,
Hold on, stop before you said those last three words. You can count on us. That's what we like to hear. No, it does. It's not going to cost a lot of money to do that, but I think that would, and with all the disconfidence in the city in the past, few years, with all this went down, people are kind of negative on the city. So if we do something positive like this, it'd be fairly simple. It wouldn't cost a lot. I think that would help the, it grow confidence in the community in our city. So maybe something like
So
that.
with your lunch and learns, were you inviting guest speakers to come in and present?
Yeah, but they were kind of not high-level guest speakers, but they knew what they were doing. In fact, I even taught a class on SEO, It was pretty good, but it just, help our community out, give them something to build on, to keep moving forward, And that's just something small, but I think it'd greatly help. Just an idea.
I think I have one more question that might be smart to ask while we're out too. If they would consider serving on a committee such as economic development. Because we are looking to fill a couple seats, correct?
Or volunteer
Or
in
volunteer.
general
Right.
with the
least
city
one.
chamber,
But I don't know about you, but somewhat depressing that no one ever shows up to our meetings. I'm sure everyone watches on YouTube.
We're here.
I didn't mean anyone up here. And Heather is here because she loves us so much.
She does.
Hey, Heather.
It would be somewhat nice if businesses came to this for an hour or so to kind of figure out what the city was doing, and they could
invite them,
talk about their concerns and bring it to this committee as well.
So then one of the lines on our survey needs to be their email address, so after we complete the survey, we can get an email list, and maybe we can hold some type of a
Invite them to our next meeting.
workshop
Yeah,
for businesses,
exactly.
and then they'll be on our emailing list.
But
Yeah.
maybe we also need to ask what would be the best date and time for them to attend.
That's gonna get hard to schedule that many.
The second Wednesday at 4:00.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could do, instead of having a meeting, we do a workshop for,
Yeah, that's a great,
Yeah, no
based
problem.
on the survey,
yeah.
here's something that would help most of the businesses that we talk to.
Because I think it'll get their minds thinking too. Because, when we approach them, they're not gonna expect us to have a list of everything they wanna go over. But if we invite them to our next meeting, that could be a very good way to do it.
Because you think you walk in and say, hey, I'm so-and-so with the city's economic development committee, and, we're developing a small business support
Yeah.
program,
Yeah.
and we would love to get a chance to ask you a few questions. Is that, would you give some time for me, Well, not right now, when can I make an appointment to come back and talk to you?
Yeah,
That's perfect.
And so that lets them know, hey, you're on the ground floor helping us build something. Say, hey, we're gonna ask you a few general questions, we're gonna take this information, and we'll follow back up with you with maybe with some more detail.
There's the script.
Did you get all that, Kyle?
You're supposed to take notes. Well, I memorized it, so I'm good to go when I go out there.
All right, email it to us.
The key is, I'm Kyle from the City of Beaumont Economic Development Committee. We're in the process of creating a small business support program, and you have a couple minutes to talk to me and answer a couple questions. If you can memorize that, then you're good with the questionnaire thing will get provided to.
First question is, do you have a permit?
It's not. If I'm allowed to say that I'm Kyle, then yes, I'll ask if I have a permit.
A little mask.
Yes. I'm Kyle Wersinski.
So are we gonna have name tag?
Yeah,
They're gonna think I'm from the college.
Kyle.
Yeah, you don't look like Kyle to me, okay?
Kyle can be.
They're gonna think I'm there to get them into the
Kyle's
college.
also a girl's name now.
It can be a girl's name. Not as common.
Yeah, we should probably get some of the little name badges made up.
Problem with it.
Plastic ones, you insert the,
Yes.
Yeah, a little
Something
magnetized
simple.
one. So they attach really well to your pacemaker.
Perfect.
You're awesome. Like that yellow-legged frogs.
Mountain.
See, when do we expect the survey to be done or ready to go?
I can get a draft together probably by the next meeting. I mean, if any of you have any other questions. Now, what will probably happen is I'll take the whole slew of questions that we talked about, eliminate redundant questions, and then pare that down to ones that staff feels are the best ones to ask. And then we'll present it at the next meeting and see if you agree with that list or if we've missed the mark or something like that.
okay.
And if, once we agree to that in terms of format, I'll kick it to the very next city council meeting
Okay.
and make sure that the 5 council members, at least a majority of them, are okay with that. And to explain the other logistics issues that we've talked about in terms of how we're going to implement this thing. And then hopefully they say, do it. And then we have our marching orders.
Do it and we help you.
There you go. Yeah, they could also participate as well, and I'm sure that they may want to.
So,
That would be great.
so I wrote down, I jotted down what seemed to be the common themes, if I can review those, make sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's one that I've missed. Okay, so, what are your biggest obstacles? How can the city help you to assist with the growth of your business? What can the city do to facilitate the process? How many employees? Do you lease, own? What do you prefer? What attracted you to Beaumont? Thoughts of leaving, what is the likelihood, I put it as, what is the likelihood of expanding? How likely are you to keep your doors open? Can you use an intern? Have you ever engaged with the city? Would you consider serving? I know there's a couple that I missed.
That's a good start, though. Good start.
That seemed to cover most of it, yeah. And then has your business ever engaged with the City of Beaumont Economic Development Department?
And maybe, about the lunch and learn, we don't have to call it a lunch and learn, but it's that type of, would you be interested or want to get involved in some type of learning experience to help your business grow or something like that, maybe?
Maybe it's a workshop.
Yeah, yeah. Call it whatever you want, but
Yeah.
they do some type of,
Outreach.
yeah.
Oh, are we gonna ask the question, would you like to participate in city committees?
Yeah, so would you consider serving on that committee?
Good.
Or being more involved in some kind of a support?
Yeah, we'll find some sort of way to
Massage.
massage that. We'll take a stab at providing a committee access, closed and open.
Okay,
So, but just kind of hitting this theme.
Long
right.
That's
No,
all right.
that sounds like it was.
Okay.
All right, does anybody have anything else for that topic? All right, seeing none, we're gonna move on to the next one, which is our topics for future agendas. We had Business of the Month program, potential auto mall sites and developments, downtown beautification facade contest with awards, and the local apprenticeship program to be developed in the Pass area. I know this is something we kind of talk about every week about what we want to talk about next time, but we have the questions that we'll need to go over. We'll have the other item that we were going to add.
Yeah, which was the intro to new business program.
Correct.
And I'll put it on there. Obviously, the committee can decide to skim over that quickly or
Flesh it
divulge
out.
into that as much as we want, but know that we have a lot of work product to review on the draft survey and the logistics portion of how we're going to go out and do it.
Okay.
Only got one thing that we could put
I'm so
our teeth
excited.
in and
Yeah.
work with that, so.
And that's an important one too.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah, it is.
really important. In fact, that's probably one of the most important ones that we.
Well, it'll
need to
help us
address.
do our job.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, very good.
All right, next item is F, committee member reports. We had said that we would add this onto the agenda to say if anybody had any reports from their line of work that they wanted to give updates on. Kyle, we'll talk for about 30 minutes.
We're gonna have summer school
Okay.
at the college, so look out for that.
We
Already just did his
had
boot camp.
83 students show up from Beaumont and Glenview High School to the boot camp, so that was good. It was well received. Everybody that was able to attend, I think the students had a good time and they learned a new opportunity that's available for them in the apprenticeship. So got a lot of good feedback from the teachers, and I even saw a couple of the students in the evening at Stater Brothers that work there. So they're bagging my groceries. They're like, "Hey, I just saw you." They're pretty happy. So it was a good time. So hopefully, the committee talked about making the boot camp something that would be mobile, so that we could take it to a bunch of different schools, because it's kind of hard sometimes to have the students with busing and stuff come. But it was a good event. So I'll keep you guys posted if we have another one.
Please do. I would like to attend.
Congratulations. That's good.
From the real estate side, things are really popping, as it tends to about this time of year. So we have a lot of brand new baby agents coming into the field too, which is a little bit wonderful and a little bit scary all at the same point. But things are definitely on the up tilt.
So I'm actually in discussion with Cal Wellness for a $500,000 grant to come into this area for foster youth education and EITC expansion and information. So I think this would be a huge opportunity for economic development for residents, maybe not for our business, but for residents to supplement their income, which makes better customers. So I'm very excited about that. Yeah, it's rad.
Similar to the real estate market, I work for building and safety, and building is booming right now. It's very, very busy. Lots of houses closing and filing out.
From the education point of view, I talked to the owner from Delta Engineering about possibly having sort of a bridge program, the civil engineering at the high school, so that they could come in more display of what they do, that we were interested in. Some of their job availabilities in the future, because that's really what graduates from college that they hired. And, a lot of cities just don't understand what to do. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah, real estate too. Again, we're taking on a new agent, so it's kind of scary at the same time. But it's booming. It seems to be picking up quicker this year than last year. For us anyway, we're already busy, so that's a good thing. It's a good thing for the city. A lot of new housing developments at DR Horton. We're selling some of those, and RD, and it's cranking already. Yeah.
So most of the items that I would bring up, I've probably already talked about at nauseum during the staff update. So I don't have anything major, except for I'd like to personally welcome Kimberly to the committee. Thank you so much for applying and coming for the first meeting, and we hope to see you at the next meeting. And we do have a couple applications for the other business member opening.
Good.
And then lastly, I didn't really want to bring this up, but I had to because Nicole made me, which is that please send in your 700 forms to Nicole if you haven't already. Thank you.
I started filling that out, and then it got filed behind me.
We didn't have the item on the agenda. It's the tradition, I think, of this committee
For brand new members?
Newest appointee has to start the meeting off with something funny.
I'm not funny.
So,
See? But she made us laugh. That's all we asked.
That's the best way.
Hey, I'm just so proud. I told her to sit next to me up here, and she said yes.
so we'll make sure we'll get that on the next meeting.
Okay.
So you have to come back now.
All right, I'll be here.
Or encourage someone else to apply and get appointed. That gets you out of the hot seat.
That's how it's
Say Jennifer says. That's my go-to now. Jennifer says.
All right. Everybody good? Are we ready to adjourn?
Yes.
Meeting's going to adjourn. We have the city council on February 7th, 2018 meeting at 5:08 p.m.